Evening all, welcome to day 15 of our advent calendar, and today we have a bit of a treat for you. Some of you have probably never seen this game, and I start a lot with that comment, but there's a reason for it, because we're playing more of the obscure stuff. We're actually, now as we get to the kind of week before Christmas, we're going to play a lot more kind of, I guess, popularist games, but I just thought I'd probably culminate with this one, because this is Fear 3. If you've never played any of the Fear 3 games, Fear 1, Fear 2, Fear 3, they're actually quite good, and we're going to have a walkthrough of them here. So again, I will blabber over the intro, just because, you know, go buy the game if you want to watch it. The whole idea behind this is that there was a girl, Alma, and she is an incredibly formidably powerful psychic, and she gave birth in a government project to two children. One was something, who's that guy, and then there's me, who's this guy shooting there. And in essence, these two children were obviously brothers, and they went on to cause havoc in Fear 1 and 2. And you actually play the protagonist in Fear 1, and you have this ability to slow down time, and you combat Alma. And you know, never before has there been quite a good, scary, you know, or rather evil or baddie like there has with Alma, because it is just so terrifying. Inspired by, you know, Japanese films like The Grudge, The Ring, you know, and many other things. So, you know, there's a real kind of drive for this. Also, this game was massively inspired by The Matrix, something that I think came out roughly around that time. So, you know, interesting stuff. What I would say with these games is that they are incredibly pant-wettingly scary. I'm a 6'4" chap. I don't mind admitting that I can, you know, hold my own in a fight. But I literally squeal and cry like a little girl when these games play. And I don't know, I think it's because I truly do willingly suspend all disbelief when I play games, and I really do immerse myself within them. And yeah, this one was just completely terrifying to me. When I played Fear 1, it was one of those games where all of a sudden something would leap out at you, and the hairs on the back of your neck would leap, and it would be terrifying. So yes, it was a funny one. So anyway, that's me. That's that guy having his face completely stomped in. You play the leader in the Fear 1 game, and unfortunately, because of your powers, you've now been locked in a prison, and you're getting the shish beaten out of you. I did just cut the cutscene there. What happened is Fatal, who is your brother, mysticked into the room. He's got psychic powers beyond belief, more than this guy has. And he killed the two guards, and we're now going to escape. So there he is, his very weird kind of red glowy legs. And this is kind of setting up the whole thing. Literally, you know, neither of us particularly like Alma, because she is completely insane and etc. However, it now looks like we're going to fight and get out of this prison and maybe go and rescue her, which makes no sense whatsoever. So, story relayed. Let's talk about the game. The game was, I think, a really good kind of, I guess, a technology experiment almost, because, you know, things like Max Payne have always, I think they were the first ones that showed bullet time in the essence of how they use them. So, you know, you could click special time event and slow time down and get benefit of slow motion happening around you. And that was obviously really cool. Now, what I think these games have done that's better than that is that they have made it so that it's an incredibly visceral experience, okay? And I think by doing that, they've made the game incredibly, I guess, you know, notorious is probably the word. I actually quite like it, because I think the horror genre is not represented enough in gaming. And I kind of surprised at that, because I thought lots of people who enjoy games would also enjoy, you know, many different types of categories of films, and I think horror would have been one of them for me, but apparently not, because there just doesn't seem to be too many horror games. I think certainly when you look at the listings on Steam, horror is not necessarily there. This is because mainly a horror game implies adults, like level of sophistication, and that obviously doesn't then make for very commercial success, because everybody would rather make a Minecraft which is played by kids than a game that is played by, you know, sort of, you know, annoyed adults. So, you know, that's just my opinion, but certainly it's an odd thing to find really good horror in the kind of, I guess, the AAA game world. You do get it in an indie world, so games like I've been told to play Amnesia All I know about that game is it's literally terrifying. And I just think there's a few games like that. Oh, hello, terrifying. So that's Alma, and obviously she's interested in what I'm doing, which is not good. So we'll see how that develops. But it was fascinating, I think, certainly from the point of view of horror in general, is that it doesn't seem to be a terribly well represented genre, which is a shame. But again, we'll see. I think particularly sci-fi horror. I don't know if you saw Dead Space 3. I think that was day 2 or 3. That was a great example of a game that, again, is kind of survival horror, or rather sci-fi horror, but yet sadly is very, very, I guess, underrated as a genre, because people don't like sci-fi and horror, so go figure. I think Fear series of games, I think they had a bit of trouble when they'd started with the success of Fear 1. That obviously gave them critical acclaim, but I think then they had some trouble then because they did a number of DLCs that came from different companies. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading about this. They had a real issue with the IP of this game. Now all of a sudden Warner Brother own it, so go figure. I have no idea if YouTube are going to allow this video up on YouTube because Warner Brothers are involved with it, but we'll see. But from what I can tell, I think certainly the franchise did well, but then the remakes, if you like, the rehashes didn't. The DLCs were not so good, so it's a shame, but we'll see. I mean, I think particularly from a kind of gaming point of view, I've forgotten how much fun it was to actually play these games, and there is something quite, I know it sounds stupid, but there is something quite relaxing about playing a shooter as well. There is something very nice. Oh, there we go. First bit of bullet time. Nice. And it gets better and better as you go. So literally this is just with a pistol. We migrate very soon to shotguns, so don't worry. Now, interesting enough, you may just be about to be able to hear my voice in the background while this is playing. I actually did try. It's funny, when I do these videos, here's a bit of YouTube content for you. When I do these videos, what I generally do is I record the footage, I edit the footage into something a bit more enjoyable, 10 minutes or so, and then that's it, I post the footage. And I then do a voiceover over it like I'm doing now, so that I'm not playing this live, I'm now talking to a microphone watching this happen, which again is a very strange experience. But what I found with this one is I tried to do the live play, do you know what I mean? So actually playing the game and commentating as I do it. And sadly there was an audio bug on it, so it just didn't work out. And to be honest, I did that because I thought this would be a really scary game and it would really freak me out, and to be honest, it wasn't really. It didn't really scare me that much, so it seemed a bit pointless to give you a very kind of poor quality audio track as it goes. Now, I mean, that's probably worth sort of a discussion on its own. Maybe I did a making of YouTube videos video. A making of YouTube video, yeah, I got that right. And it was, I'm really quite kind of interested in the whole process of making the video rather than actually sort of playing the game. I know that sounds so strange, but I used to literally love playing games over doing the video, over doing anything else. And now I actually think to myself, oh my god, that's going to look amazing on a video if I do this, if I do that, and so on. So check it out. It's well worth a look, because I think more people should do YouTube. I think it's a fascinating hobby. It does become it's funny because social media in itself is becoming a bit of a game now. I know I've completely gone off track here, but let me share my theory with you. And this was a theory that I really got kind of confirmation of with Charlie Brooker. He's a really good kind of journalist, gaming commentator in the UK, and he did a Channel 4 program on how games have completely changed history. That they are something that changed modern society and culture, which I do believe. And what he was saying is that the next generation of games aren't going to be virtual reality, blah, 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 blah. They're going to be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And it's true, because a lot of the time now people are treating these things as a game. So it's all about how many views you get, how many subscribers you get, how many people follow you on Twitter, how many people retweet you. That social net part of of the social aspect of those applications is becoming a game. Interesting. So there we go. We'll talk about that some other time a bit more, because I totally agree with it. I think it becomes something that you think to yourself, right, I need to level up. So okay, the next thing on YouTube that I can get is this, therefore I need that many subs or that many views. Okay, right, how do I do that? And it literally becomes like a game, level up. You know, literally you're playing Mario YouTube or Mario Twitter. It's lovely. I think that's great. Anyway, enough bibble. Let's carry on talking about Fear 3. I think I was actually gobsmacked at how good this game was. I was expecting a complete car crash of a game. And what I got was just a really good reimagining of exactly what made Fear 1 good, which is this. As you can see, running through dudes, getting shot with a shotgun in point blank range and it not killing me for some reason, and so on. So it was just epic. I loved it. And yes, I'm about to get a shotgun, and no, I'm not about to die to that grenade. I'm not too mad about it being a cover-based shooter. I don't particularly like cover-based shooters. To be fair, as I moderate that statement in my brain, I do think to myself, actually, it's not as bad as maybe all that, because to be honest, it's one of these things that I think isn't too kind of obvious. You don't have to use cover. You should, but you don't have to. Anyway, so that's probably one of the bad things about it. But, oh my god, look at this shotgun time. Shotgun Pete, he takes no sheet. I love it. I think this. I think any game that's like this, I have to play shotgun. I don't know why. I think it's just in my brain. I'm addicted to shotguns. I think they're brilliant. I think they're the best weapon out there, even though I know they're not. What I would say is any gun that has the AA-12, you know, that really weird kind of rifle-based automatic shotgun, I am getting that game because I just love that gun. I think there's something very awesome about it. Because in the UK, we're not allowed guns, nor should we. I just think the UK would be enriched by not having guns because we don't have wild animals or anything like that. That doesn't mean I'm pro-NRA or anti-NRA. To be honest, I don't care. It's not my country. I have no right to comment on your policies. But for the UK particularly, it's probably not a bad thing we don't have shotguns here, because we drink quite a lot as well. Let's not forget that. The UK people, when they go out on a town, drink an awful lot. And I mean to the point where they're they are literally dying. And if you imagine, 20,000 people out for a night out in Essex, and let's say 20,000 of them are armed, we would have a big problem. I'm amazed in America that's not actually a big problem, that you get lots of drunk assholes shooting their guns into into crowds at that time. Because in the UK, I think it would become a problem. There is a very odd culture at the moment in the UK, which is pretty much, F everyone else, I'm more important. And it's a bit of a shame, actually, because it does create for some very kind of entitled dick lords. Anyway, so as it stands, I'm loving the shotgun. I'm surprised actually how good this thing is. It's ridiculously good, in fact. I'm surprised actually that it's only a starter one as well. So hopefully we'll get a better one. And I'm just kind of, literally wondering what to do next. So my big first mistake there was a switch in that room I should have thrown. So I'm probably going to fast forward the footage right back. So hang on. And there we go. So that was probably about half an hour of me searching around for this switch here. So anyway, so let's conclude. So in terms of, I think, Fear 3 being a game worthy of playing, I would say most definitely it is. I think if you have a real kind of love of just, obviously very good FPSs, then this isn't one of them. This is not a great FPS in any means, but what I would say is it's a brilliant gimmick game. So it is good, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a terrible shooter, I'm saying it's a very good shooter, but compare it to, it depends what your style is. If you like Arma 2, then obviously it's nowhere near anything realistic, but if you like things like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Call of Duty and that, I wouldn't say it's as good as those, but what it does have is that lovely gimmick, and I think the visceralness of it people will love. I think the fact of shooting somebody in the face with a shotgun and the pellets stripping the flesh off and leaving a skull, some people are literally just going to go into the playground next day and just talk with their wispy little moustaches about how much of a man they are. And to be honest, that shouldn't really appeal to you. That should just be like, well, that's interesting technology. But what I would say is this game has a lovely gimmick of the bullet time, and I think also the story is very good as well. So I think if you're interested in a compelling, interesting story that maybe kind of engrosses you for a weekend, then this is probably quite good. There are 3 Fear games, as I've mentioned, and I think each of them is actually quite good. Probably obviously start with FEAR 1 because that really is where it begins, and I think it's also, graphically it's not that dated either, so I think you'd probably have quite some fun playing that. I think you can probably buy FEAR 1 and FEAR 2 now for, again, a few dollars, literally, and this is something worth bearing in mind because there's a lot of gaming right there for very little money. And I think, they're not old, they're not dated, they just are still very good shooters. So I think, have a think. I think they're definitely worthy of your time. I think in terms of the way that, look at that, that's just ridiculous. I think in terms of the way that these things handle, I think they play pretty much on anything as well. I mean, my PC is actually not great. It's I think the only good thing on my PC is the processor, if I remember rightly, but I'm running it with a very, very poor graphics card. Like, I think it cost me £150 maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, long time ago. And it's just because, I think at the time, it was just a very good card on offer. I would recommend, if you're going to kind of do PC gaming, that you do get a better card than certainly the one I've got. Spend your money on the processor, the memory, and your graphics card, and you'll probably not go too far wrong. I think all of the other stuff is just nice to have, but I think certainly for things like Fear and that, it'll run on anything. It'll run on a really old next gen, kind of previous gen computer, and I think you'll probably have no problem with it. In terms of also, I think certainly the accessibility of these games, I think they're pretty good as well. A lot of the time, people don't have the investment, or the time rather, to actually put the investment into a Minecraft or a Terraria or a Starbound or something like that. People want a very quick, kind of satisfying quick game, and I think games like this really give you that. Also, I would stress, I think there is something very stress relieving about gaming. Now, this makes me look like a complete loony psycho nut job when I say I play games like this to relax, because people would say, what you do, you mass murder hundreds of people in slow motion with shotgun rounds and get slightly aroused at the damage you're doing. And I say, no, of course not. What I'm saying is that it's all make-believe. You watch a film, you're not thinking that really a great big lizard is attacking, the Pacific. You just don't, it's a film. You engross yourself within it. And I think too often people just, literally look at games like these are games that give gaming a bad name, only because they are so violent. And I think the sad thing about it is that, there's never been proved to be anything linked between violence in schools and violence within children and adults and gaming. It's completely irrelevant. People said this about TV when TV came in. They said TV will literally destroy society. Now they said that about the film industry. They said that about moving pictures. They said that about music. I mean, when when music came out, like in orchestra, proper symphonies, people classed it as wrong. They said it was damaging society. People don't understand gaming, okay? And I think games like this don't help the argument. Games like GTA 5, GTA 4, GTA 3, GTA 2, GTA 1, none of those help the whole argument of gaming, because they quite frankly just put gaming into a very kind of difficult position. And they try and say certain unfortunately certain guys who've gone crazy and shot up schools were actually influenced by games as well, which is just heartbreaking, because firstly, it's an incredibly terrible act, and trying to lay blame is just a way for somebody to try and cope with it. But the reality is that they're completely separate. There's no link, no proven link. And I think not just because people can't prove it. It's like, this isn't like people say you can't prove that cigarettes give you cancer like they did in the 60s. No, I'm actually saying there is no provable link between gaming and violence at all, because just modern culture would make people violent, because there's violence in modern culture. Me shooting somebody's head off just then is less shocking than you walking down the street and seeing somebody punch somebody in the face, because it's real. This isn't real. And I think everybody within reason, everybody has this ability to disassociate what is real and what isn't. Okay. That got very heavy, didn't it? But it does bother me when people really kind of, like the NRA trying to blame violent video games, things like that. It's a very dangerous line they walk, because I think the reality is that no, it's a very tenuous link. And not that I'm saying the NRA is wrong either. I think unfortunately You know, these things happen, and I think you just have to accept that, unfortunately, even with a country with the strictest gun controls, somebody could still get a gun and go crazy and kill many people. And as you saw in Finland, in Norway, you know, in those areas, that, you know, there's lots of these kind of problems. So just let's not get too much into that. These are violent games. These are not for kids. That's the way to think of it. If you have children, don't let them play this, because it is a very visceral, violent, unhappy, unpleasant game filled with horror and nasty moments. So on that happy, shiny, sunny, flowery, upbeat note, let's end there. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll maybe write an article on that, because I think certainly gaming is getting a lot of blame at the moment for stuff that probably really isn't anything to do with it. And I think certainly I'm interested in that. I'm a big advocate of gaming as a recreation, but also as an educational tool. Anyway, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.